Alrighty, I think we're all set. Oh boy, it's been a day. Not used to doing this kind of stream after work. Oof. It's also been like, 3 weeks since I last talked about movies? Boy, used to never go a week without doing it, but those days are gone. Of course, I could afford to go to the movies back then, and there wasn't a pandemic, so... In any case, how y'all doing? Feel free to pop into chat and say hello and whatnot. As I get myself all set up here. I'll make sure I've got all the alerts good. Shout out is there, alert box is there, good. Alrighty. And I took people's advice. I took the poll. The last couple of weeks I did a poll on Twitter about how to best go forward with this podcast to make it more engaging to people. And part of that was to, instead of having just the still image of the poster for a movie, to have most people that that followed me wanted something more akin to a slideshow. And so you're gonna see me with some extra production value on this show. So first movie we got coming up is the big contender for the box office. This weekend, we saw the return of Roland Emmerich, the classic 90s destroyer of everything, as he now turns to the moon falling from the sky itself, and also the return of some, celebrities from the 90s, the Jackass crew. But only one, hey Ben, only one could take the box office. And, who could that be? Well, wait. That was weird. I should have added this to the soundboard. I wasn't thinking, but there's only one who could take the crown. That's right. Jackass Forever took the number one seat at the box office. Because Jackass Forever is exactly what the people needed. Weekend was good. Monday was tiring. I didn't get a lot of sleep. And then work was a bit longer than normal. We had some technology issues pop up. But this movie has been through hell and back to come out. Paramount expected returns on investments with this movie, and so unlike dumping it on Paramount, this was produced by Paramount as a subsidiary of Viacom CBS, who own MTV, who were the rights holders for the Jackass series and for that IP. And so this was planned initially, I believe, for 2019, maybe 2020, and then the pandemic hit. And so they kept pushing the date back. And in fact, you do see, in some of the behind-the-scenes footage that the crew members are masked, and even some of the even when they're just hanging out, some of the cast members are masked up too. So this was mid-pandemic that they were making this stuff. And there must have been it must have been like made during the early days of 2020 for a 2020 release date, and then that got pushed all the way up through 2021, and it finally got its release here. Over a year of pushbacks, because Paramount wanted as much people coming out to the theater to see this as they could, and they didn't want to risk people staying home because of the pandemic. And that eventually they finally got it out in theaters. And plus, I think the Jackass crew didn't want to be the ones to get people sick from coming to see their movie, like sick and not sick in terms of COVID, not sick in terms of they want to make people throw up because, oh boy, does this movie, do these guys, they make their one camera dude like sick multiple times over the course of the stunts in this movie and over the course of filmmaking. They do not hold back. There isn't really much of a plot to talk about because it's Jackass. The only thing is the original crew are pushing their 50s now. They're in their late 40s. In fact, Johnny Knoxville turned 50 during the making of this movie. Whoa. Hold on. Automod caught something. Exactly. The only good thing that came out of MTV after the music videos stopped playing. But suffice to say that I wasn't into Jackass when it first came out. I was part of the people who were like, I don't get it. It's just a bunch of dumbasses. What's so great? And then as I got older, I kind of got it. Like, yeah, this is a bunch of dumbasses hanging out, doing dumb shit to each other. That's the point. That's all it is. It's just the visceral human experience of a bunch of dummies hanging out together and hurting themselves. Because that's what you do with your friends when you don't give a shit. And then unfortunately Jersey Shore and that whole era of MTV kind of took over, and now I don't even know what the fuck's on MTV. I think they took a thing from Catfish, and that's like their big show now. I don't even fucking know. But yeah, so here you've got the old crew from the 90s and from the early 2000s who are pushing their 50s. They're much older guys. They're like a generation older than I am. A bunch of old Gen Xers about to age out of being able to do this anymore. In fact, Johnny Knoxville was sent to the hospital. Steve-O had to have a neck brace on after one stunt and had to be, taken off set by EMTs. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, they won't talk about it too much. I mean, there isn't really much to talk about. It's just, them doing a bunch of stunts, and then they've got a new crew. They've got some new faces, some younger people in their 20s, some other dummies in their 20s, who are now kind of taking up the mantle. And we even got celebrity cameos. Right there, you see Tori Belleci from Mythbusters. And he helped to make 2 decades of a stunt finally come to fruition, and they light a fart underwater. With the help of Tori Belleci. It takes the help of Tori Belleci from Mythbusters, but they managed to light a fart underwater. They've also got a UFC heavyweight. They've got Machine Gun Kelly, who you'll see in a bit. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead I liked, but that was Mike Judge. I always kind of dug him. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly, as you see there, he pops in for a stunt. Eric Andre shows up for a couple of stunts and just kind of hangs out with the guys. You get a UFC heavyweight showing up. You get the fastest softball pitcher in professional softball. Or I guess maybe college league softball. They got a girl in the crew now. Rachel Wolfson. And yeah, she, as you can see here, with there's Eric Andre, and there's Chris Pontius holding up a scorpion to sting Rachel Wolfson on the lips to give her quote unquote Botox. The opening is insane, and the opening is like a play off of Godzilla movies, and the twist is just absolutely on brand for them. But these new crew, they're not as iconic as like Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O and Chris Pontius and all them, but they do manage to hold their own. I think one of them is a YouTuber who does prank stuff in the vein of Jackass, but there's a British guy there. The other black guy is British. The one black dude there in the spider trap is actually one of the new crew members' dads, who just comes and hangs out and does stunts with the guys. A couple times they reveal he's an ex-con, he's an ex-gangbanger, and now he's just hanging out with the crew of Jackass with his son. crazy stuff. But yeah, I dig the new crew. If they go on to do a new series for like Paramount Plus, I would probably watch it because I think they have enough charisma on their own to kind of keep the brand going, so to speak. But if this ends up just being a bookend to the franchise, this is just their goodbye tour, as it were. This is just them giving their last hurrah for Jackass. I think this is good. I think because I don't see Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville trying to keep doing. Steve-O might. Johnny is definitely to the point where it's like, I can't do these stunts anymore. I'll produce, I'll host or something like that, but I can no longer keep doing these stunts. My body cannot take it anymore. So Jackass Forever is a killer send-off to the franchise, and it's already my favorite movie of the year. We'll see if something tops this, but I didn't laugh out louder. I didn't have more fun watching a movie, especially with this. I had a small audience with me, but watching this movie with an audience was a treat because we got to enjoy it collectively, and it was fun. And so yeah, if you get the chance and you're willing to sit through some dumbasses being stupid and hurting themselves on purpose, then have at it. That's Jackass for you. It's more of the same, bigger and louder and more stupid. And what else could you ask for? This really is just what America needed right now. This bunch of dumbasses hurting themselves for our amusement, and Tori Belleci helping them set their farts on fire. There's never a plot to Jackass. You don't need writers, you just need a bunch of dumbasses ready to hurt themselves. Unfortunately, our next movie did have writers. They weren't very good writers, and it wasn't a very good movie. And that would be Moonfall. Moonfall, the latest from Roland Emmerich, the director behind Godzilla 98, Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, 2012, and I think most recently Geostorm, was it? He tried to do some other disaster movie recently, and so he managed to get together, quote, independent financing, which mainly meant he went to the Hawaii brothers and Tencent over in China for backing. And yeah, this is basically the moon literally falls out of orbit from the sky. And if you ask anybody who knows anything about basic science and physics and astrophysics, they'll tell you that's bullshit. They'll already tell you that that's bullshit. And then, I should actually move the chat stuff up so that the images don't cover the chat by accident. In any case, the plot, such as it is about Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry. Sadly, Halle Berry, this is what she's been reduced to. But she's always kind of been stuck with bad movie roles after Catwoman. I think that kind of killed her career, sadly. But Patrick Wilson stars and Halle Berry stars astronauts who, during a routine satellite. Don't worry, we'll get to the conspiracy theories. But after, why isn't this? There it is. I wasn't minimizing in OBS. But after, yep, there it is. There's the reveal. It's aliens. But during a routine satellite repair, they get attacked by that swarm of alien robots, and nobody and then when Patrick Wilson goes to report it, Halle Berry was knocked unconscious, and so didn't see what happened, and so she can't confirm his story, but they have a falling out because apparently she didn't back him up enough. It's stupid. Like, this is the level of writing you get from Roland Emmerich. oh, this wishes it was as good as Michael Bay's Transformers. Roland Emmerich wishes he was as good as a storyteller and action filmmaker as Michael Bay. Michael Bay does what Roland Emmerich does and makes it not tedious. At least. Doesn't make it good, he makes it not tedious to sit through. In any case, Patrick Wilson is humiliated, disgraced, kicked out of NASA, no longer an astronaut, and so his wife divorces him. His kid hates him, becomes a degenerate, and starts breaking the law and gets arrested at the beginning in the first act of the movie. And Patrick Wilson is a drunk and a reprobate. Meanwhile, when he pops up, I'll point him out. This conspiracy character, because there's always one. There's this guy over here with Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry. Wilson, yeah, he doesn't really get the best movies either. Of course, Conjuring at least has fans. I don't like it. I don't think it's good, but at least it has fans. But yeah, so this nerdy guy over here, originally intended to be played by Josh Gad, and then Gad wisely said, scheduling conflicts means I can't be in this movie. This guy is a conspiracy nut who believes in the actual conspiracy that people believe in the real world, that the moon is a mega construct. It is a construction made by aliens and not an actual body of rock orbiting the Earth. And they believe that these megastructures are out there in the universe. And like in every Roland Emmerich movie, the conspiracy nut is the one who's right. And it turns out the moon is in fact a megastructure, and it is falling out of orbit thanks to that alien robot that keeps popping up, that swarm of alien nanobots. And it's up to Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry to help save the Earth and the moon, because it turns out there's even more to it, but I won't go into spoilers in case anybody actually gives a shit. When I post this over on like YouTube and whatnot, or people want to go back and watch the VOD. But in any case, Halle Berry, who also is apparently a divorcee, for no real reason, it's just both adult couples in this movie are divorced. For some reason. Meanwhile, Patrick Wilson's wife is married to Michael Pena, who's a Lexus dealer, and he serves no purpose. Trust me, this movie gives not one fuck about actual physics or science. No, what it cares about is being a dumbass disaster movie. And you know what? I can get behind being a dumbass movie. I just raved about how good Jackass is. You can be dumb. That's okay. Just accept the fact that you're dumb and have fun with it. Nick Cage is coming up in a movie where he basically plays a dumber version of himself, and it's all about him in the movies. Oh yeah, that's the whole thing, is that when the moon gets close to Earth, the gravity shifts, and so people can jump higher. And that's how they get off. They get off Earth. They use the fact that the moon messed with the Earth's gravity enough for them to get away from planet Earth and take off. God, this movie is so stupid. And some people may have fun with that. I can accept that. But Roland Emmerich, his movies, the only time I ever found that level of dumb being fun was Independence Day. And even then, it only helped so much. And I think the only reason I tolerated Independence Day was because of the charisma of Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith and the late great what's his name? What's his name? It was the president in Independence Day. He's also in Spaceballs. Oh God. My brain is fried. Hold on. It'll come to me. He shows up in the sequel too. Bill Pullman. I knew he had like a similar name to another actor, but yeah, the late great Bill Pullman as the president. It is horribly stupid, and yet those three actors managed to make the stupid work. And sadly, since then, he's never had a cast to make the stupid work. And since Godzilla, he has taken himself 100% seriously. Every movie since Godzilla has been treating itself like a serious disaster movie and not the Burt I. Gordon stupid celebrity-filled disaster romp that you usually get from disaster movies. It's not supposed to be serious unless you're doing a tragedy of a real disaster like Titanic, like like something about an actual disaster like an earthquake. If you're only about the destruction effects and you're not even writing decent characters, just let yourself have fun. If this is Roland having fun, then he's a dour-ass, self-serious bastard. And of course, the one disaster movie he did, the one movie that wasn't about a literal disaster, was as more of another conspiracy nutball movie about another actual conspiracy that believed Shakespeare didn't really exist and that it was somebody else wrote all of his plays because Shakespeare don't go to school. He too dumb write good play. Which is basically just English lit elitism. So yeah, Anonymous is a piece of shit movie because everything Roland Emmerich makes is a piece of shit. It's just that only one of his movies has been good enough to not actively be awful. Exactly, except then NASA realizes concurrently that, it turns out that the conspiracy was true all along and the numbers don't lie. Woo! Roland Emmerich has this bizarre fascination and obsession with conspiracy theories, from the Mayan calendar to misunderstanding global warming to aliens in Area 51 to now this thing with the megastructures and the aforementioned Shakespearean conspiracy. The one movie he doesn't make that's an outright disaster movie is literally about a conspiracy theory. And he opens it with an actual one of the believers of the conspiracy theory. Because he is that much of a fucking worm-eaten brain gremlin. His brain is dead and has been eaten by worms and or gremlins. There is no brain there anymore. So I think that's the thing for me, is that I could take if this was a stupid asylum-level B action movie. Oh yeah, he specifically wrote in characters that were parodies of Siskel, quote-unquote parodies, of Siskel and Ebert as the mayor and his assistant of New York City, playing, it was Mayor Ebert and his assistant Siskel. He specifically wrote those characters into the movie so that they could be the incompetent mayor and get killed by Godzilla, because Ebert and Roper... No, wait, it wasn't Siskel, it was Roper. It was Roper at the time. Roper hadn't passed away yet. It was before Siskel's time, I believe. I think it was Ebert and Roper still at the time. But he wrote those characters in the movie specifically to die because Roland Emmerich is a petty little bitch who cannot stand the fact that Ebert and Roper made fun of Independence Day and didn't like it, or they didn't like Stargate or something, and they gave it a bad review, and he said, well, I'll show you. It's like when it was like when M. Night Shyamalan put in a specific character who was a literary critic, specifically there to make fun of movie critics who called out his stupid plot twists and everything, and called out his bad writing in Lady in the Water. It's that levels of petty where they cannot stand the idea that people might possibly criticize their creative work. No, what I made was what I made was smart and good. You can't know. Yeah. Anyway. So this movie I could get behind if it didn't bore me to tears. Like, that's the thing. This never pissed me off. This was bad. This was genuinely bad and terrible to sit through. But unlike a movie like, say, anything made by Pureflix or an intentionally inaccurate fake documentary that's basically just a propaganda piece, like, No Safe Spaces, or say, something that's genuinely reprehensible, like Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman. The difference between those kinds of movies that I viscerally hated and a movie like this is that it was bad in none of the ways that incite any emotion in me. It's bad in the way that it's just devoid of good. It is not actively awful so much as it is just devoid of anything of quality. I mean, I gave it 1 star basically because Halle Berry's the only thing good in it. But it genuinely has, like, screw the moon. You're telling me somebody would go through the trouble of graffitiing the space shuttle in LA and they wouldn't even use the word fuck? And yet Roland just has been pimping out the idea of making back-to-back sequels, Avatar 2 style, and this movie only made $10 million at the box office. This was outperformed by Jackass, and it's only made back essentially the budget of the Jackass movie. Jackass Forever cost $10 million to make, and that's basically the only amount of money Moonfall was able to make back. I sat in an empty theater to watch Moonfall. I think one person showed up. I know, I forget her name, Hilo. She's another VTuber. She went to go see Moonfall today as well, and her theater was empty. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody cares. And this cost like $150 million to make. It is going to go, unless China can somehow carry this movie to success, we are never seeing this franchise again. And I have a theory about that, but I need to actually talk to other non-American, non-Canadian VTubers or streamers or people to see if my theory is correct. But I have this theory. The reason that movies like the Resident Evil franchise, like I forget the specific examples, but the reason these terribly bad but big budget action movies do well overseas, and yet they come over, and yet you try to release them in the States and they're just genuinely awful to sit through. My theory is that they do better overseas simply because the subtitle writing and or the dub writing for them is infinitely better. They get better actors to read it out if it's a dub, or they get better writers to write out a script for the subtitles than we get over here. And that between those things and the fact that those movies also don't really require a lot of good dialogue to be enjoyable, that it's much more about the spectacle and the visual effects, that's why it does better overseas. Exactly. I have, this may be even too much for Chinese audiences to, like, that, the whole reason, you see that character in the background of that shot? And over here, the dude with the long hair is Patrick Wilson's son, who went to jail and had to be rescued during the Moonfall. The Chinese girl is the live-in nanny? ? For Halle Berry's character, who helps take care of her son and teaches him Chinese, and she is literally only there as a gimme to the Chinese audience, the same way that doctor was in Iron Man 3. She's literally just a gimme character to be like, hey, China, check this out. We spoke Mandarin. We have a character just for you. It's the lamest tokenism, and I have to believe the Chinese audiences don't give a fuck if Hollywood throws in a token character to speak Chinese. I have to believe that they genuinely don't care if they're represented in Hollywood or not, mainly because of the fact that China has its own, robust filmmaking industry that represents them anyway. So why would they care if we put a token for them in our movie? Like, does it really matter? That's, once again, I would love to talk to other content creators, other VTubers, or even audience members who live in China or are Chinese adjacent, maybe have family from China, that can give me some insight into these kinds of things, because I'd love to learn more. But suffice to say that I don't see this getting a sequel. God help us if it does. But it's just tedious. It is a tedious slog of a movie. It's as dumb as every other Roland Emmerich movie, but without any of the fun of an Independence Day or even a Godzilla or Day After Tomorrow. It is all of the bitterness of his terrible writing, and none of the kick of the fun parts that would be the only reason to see his movies. But that was this week's new releases. And I have a bit of catching up to do, because I actually didn't stream on Monday for the last couple of weeks. So next up, we have The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, direct to Disney Plus. Now, if you're not familiar with inside industry stuff, you may be wondering what the hell Disney Plus is doing making an Ice Age movie. Well, you see, what had happened was that Disney acquired Fox. Fox were the 20th Century Fox specifically. The part that's not, that's not part of the Fox News wing of Rupert Murdoch's empire. Specifically the 20th Century Fox and 20th Century Fox TV. That's just them that they acquired. And as part of that deal, they got Blue Sky Studios, and then promptly shut them the hell down. So Blue Sky, the creators of the Ice Age franchise, who were actually on the way to making another movie that could have been good from the sound of it, they were unceremoniously shut down, which is what happens when you have giant mergers like those. And instead, Disney takes their IP and pumps it out for Disney Plus. What this started out as was essentially a would-be Ice Age franchise TV's tie-in series. The same way Land Before Time got a tie-in series. The same way that so many other franchises will then branch out into a serialized, televised format. That was going to be the plan until Blue Sky was shut down. And instead, what we got was this terrible movie where the only returning voice actor is Simon Pegg. And I'm echoing a bit right now because I'm about to take a sip of water. Exactly. After the first movie, a little part of the second movie I kind of cared, because I kind of found it interesting that they brought in Queen Latifah as Manny's romantic love interest, so to speak. And I kind of cared a little bit for 3 because, dinosaurs. I'm a dinosaur freak. I still love dinosaurs. But even the dinosaurs didn't help this one. In any case, Manny, that whole crew that you're seeing, they're barely in it. The plot isn't even about the titular Buck Wild, which is Simon Pegg's character. It's not even about him. It's about Crash and Eddie, God, what's her name? The Queen Latifah's character's brothers, her possum brothers. It's about Crash and Eddie wanting to be adults and not be told what to do anymore by Ellie. They didn't want to be told what to do anymore by Ellie and feel like they're being treated like kids. And so they go off to the Lost World again and meet up with Buck Wild, who is dealing with a dinosaur with a giant exposed brain in the back of his... it's a ceratopsian that has a giant exposed brain on the back side of its frill. So on the front end is a ceratopsian face, and then under the frill is like... If it's not exposed, it's very lightly skin. There is no bone back there. There is no skull protecting his brain matter behind his frill. It's disgusting. And aside from Simon Pegg, the only voice actors we get are TV voice actors and sound-alikes. We get sound-alikes for all of the celebrity cast members, and then we get voice actors for the new characters. And it's just, none of it is good. None of it is good. Simon Pegg is wasted in this movie. He does nothing in this movie. He does nothing of any value in this movie. He basically he may as well just done this for the paycheck. He probably just did this for the paycheck. And even Dennis Leary and John Leguizamo didn't come in for the paycheck for this one. I don't know what's going on with Simon Pegg. Maybe he thought he was getting more out of it because his character's name is in the title? But no, this isn't about Buck. It's not about the weasel Buck. It's about the possums, Crash and Eddie. But apparently, they didn't think anybody would care if it was called The Ice Age Adventures of Crash and Eddie. They named it after the celebrity that they got to come back. Even though he's a side character in his own movie. The premise, such as it is that Buck used to be a member of a superhero team, in quotes. He used to be a member of essentially a heroic team, not so much the Avengers as much as like the Bat Family or the Defenders, street level heroes, where they use their acrobatics in order to fight off enemies. And like there's a couple of big ones. There was like an iguanodon, and there was like an Andricothere in his crew, and one of those weird hamsters with the giant horn on its head. Yeah, I only remembered because I still kind of liked Dawn of the Dinosaurs. That's where I fell off. Because after Dawn of the Dinosaurs, I didn't give a shit. After that, it was like, why are you still making movies? Dawn of the Dinosaurs, at least they had dinosaurs, and I liked the parts with the dinosaurs. But after that, I was like, why do I even bother? Here, the dinosaurs don't even matter. The dinosaurs don't even factor into it. They bring back the T-Rex mom from Dawn of the Dinosaurs, and she's a non-factor in this. That character that Buck's with is a Zorilla, which is essentially a prehistoric skunk. And her whole quote-unquote superpower is that she can spray noxious fumes that knock out her opponents or targets. And then Buck is essentially Batman. He's an acrobatic with a knife and all kinds of gadgets and whatnot. And yeah, exactly. Ice Age was fine. They should have never returned to it, but because it made all the money, Fox said make more. And they probably said, okay, well, we can do other things, I guess. That's the other thing. Scrat makes not a single appearance in this entire film. Probably the most beloved character in the franchise, Scrat. More people remember Scrat and care about Scrat than any of the talking characters. And he never shows up once. There isn't even like a short before the movie where he shows up. He gets nothing. Scrat doesn't show up. This is the only Ice Age movie where there is no Scrat. And that should tell you why it sucks. Because even the worst of the Ice Age movies, like the last two, Collision Course and Continental Drift. Even they had moments with Scrat that you could enjoy. The movies themselves were terrible, but at least there was some Scrat. Here, nothing. There is no Scrat. You're stuck with Simon Pegg phoning it in, a bunch of sound-alikes, and TV-grade CG animation. The animation here... Oh, I got notes for this. They have anachronistic cutaway gags, a la Family Guy, and jokes. They have an anachronistic, like the aforementioned superheroes. Manny. I remember the main characters' names because I did enjoy the first movie at least, and so I remember the characters from this franchise. But yeah, the whole thing is like the TV grade CG animation. It's unfinished at points. There are points where it just looks unfinished, and that they copy and paste models. And the villain, his whole gimmick is that he has claws. He's a ceratopsian, but he has sharp claws, and he can stand on his hind legs, and he can start fires that he uses to control the raptors using flint. And that's his whole gimmick, is that he can create fire, and he uses the fire to hypnotize the raptors to work for him. And... Oh, wait, I just realized I forgot to change I still listed as streaming Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I've been streaming for almost an hour, and it still says I've been streaming Brilliant Diamond. Sorry for anybody who tuned in thinking this was Brilliant Diamond. No, this is a talk show about movies. Sorry about that. Whoops. I'm a professional. But yeah, it's cheap looking, unfinished, almost like people have commented besides me that a lot of the animation looks like it needs another round of rendering or a second or third round before it looks done. This doesn't look finished, and yet they pumped it out for Disney Plus. And I think the thing that gets me is they want to push for like superhero action fight scenes. The choreography stinks, and Buck has a knife. He has a sharp Tyrannosaurus tooth that he uses for a knife, even though Tyrannosaurus teeth weren't sharp. They were more like railroad spikes. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, he has a sharp tooth for a knife. He never once uses the knife to cut anything. He just kind of holds it. And the fight scenes are Secret of the Ooze style. We can't use our weapons. The Tyrannosaurus can't use her sharp teeth. We have to, nicely knock out our opponents. Oh no, there's no the Crash and Eddie are the opossums. The new girl is a Zorilla, and that is essentially she's essentially a skunk. And yeah, she's basically the most anthro character in the whole movie because they were that lazy in their character design. They just didn't care. Oh, I should get that as I need like a Stream Deck soundboard of my own to play sounds on it. Here, let me play this.
Ladies and gentlemen, mad scientists and others, we are about to
Where is it?
Was actually quite a lovely day. Sultan, they just didn't care.
Gambot, also unfortunate enough to have evolved with clear indication that they just didn't care.
Camp.
Yeah, exactly. The anthro skunk girl, it looks like something you would see on Fur Affinity. It doesn't look like it belongs in the Ice Age universe. And yeah, nobody cared. Genuinely, nobody cared. I don't know why anybody bothered. Nobody cared. They just didn't care. And yet, their plans for Bob Iger or somebody up at Disney was saying, hey, look, we could do this, we could do more of these. And it's like, no, stop. They should have stopped. Blue Sky should have stopped, and Fox should have stopped with this years ago. Unless you're going to do like a series of Looney Tunes silent cartoons, no dialogue driven cartoons with Scrat, nobody cares about Ice Age. They care about Scrat. Nobody likes Ice Age. Nobody cares about these characters. Nobody cared about Crash and Eddie. Why is this a thing? Please stop. So Blue Sky, they died so that this could happen. Thanks, Disney. You really gave it your all. Speaking of giving it their all, The King's Daughter. This came right the hell out of nowhere. And, for those unfamiliar, this is based on a book that actually won the Nebula Award over Game of Thrones. The book's name, I forgot to write it down, but I'm pulling it up now. It was written by a much beloved writer in the Star Trek community because she wrote a bunch of... I didn't even see any ads for this. Granted, I don't see a lot of ads anymore, but still. This is based on The Moon and the Sun by the late science fiction writer Vonda N. McIntyre. Vonda N. McIntyre is mainly known for writing Star Trek and Star Wars novelizations and extended universe novels. She wrote the novelizations for Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home. She wrote... she actually invented Sulu's first name. She's the one who gave him the name Hikaru Sulu. Okay, gotcha. But she's big in specifically the Star Trek fandom. And this book, The Moon and the Sun, actually won the Nebula Award over the first entry in the Game of Thrones franchise. This beat out Game of Thrones for the Nebula Award the year it came out. The book did. And since then, they've been trying to make adaptations for it. This was started in 2015. And it didn't start filming until 2019. Oh, thanks for the sound alert. Yeah, she's great. Vonda McIntyre's great. I'm sure the book is interesting because she's a science fiction writer, so and a biologist. So she probably dug into the biology. The gimmick here is that they find a mermaid. They're trying to use a mermaid to make King Henry or King Louis the Eighth. Which King Louis is this? King Louis the 14th of France. King Louis the 14th, played by Pierce Brosnan of all goddamn people, is trying to use the magic of the mermaid to live forever and be the eternal Sun King. Yeah, have fun with the point with the sound alerts. I love it. I love it. And actually, yeah, this was made to be released in 2015. It didn't see the light of day until 2022 due to production being delayed and then eventually being delayed by COVID. And then it got dumped unceremoniously in January. And I managed to catch it. I won't say how because I don't want to be held liable for it. It's narrated very lazily by the great Julie Andrews. So she's another one slumming it in this movie. I don't recognize any of the other actors. Oh, wait, there is one more there who is a decent actor in this. William Hurt, best known for probably nowadays playing Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU. William Hurt, for other people, may better be known for things like... Ah, shoot, now I can't remember William Hurt's filmography. My brain is gone. Best known for Altered States, was what I was thinking of. He was in Body Heat, Children of a Lesser God, Broadcast News, Kiss of the Spider Woman. He was in a bunch of off-Broadway productions of Shakespeare, AI, Artificial Intelligence, The Village, Mr. Brooks, Into the Wild, and A History of Violence. He's been a long-standing actor, and both dramatic and not and like thriller actor. He's been a long-standing like character actor since the 80s. And he's here as Louis XIV's priest, as the Catholic priest, who is the good guy in the story. They make the priest the good guy in the story, surprisingly. But in any case, the premise here is the bastard daughter of Louis XIV, who is the woman that you saw in that picture with Pierce Brosnan, played by some actress I've never heard of. She returns to Louis XIV's court by happenstance as a musician, and then is eventually raised to the level of basically a lady of the court. And eventually he reveals her to be his daughter. And she befriends the mermaid that he has captured and is planning to do a ritual sacrifice for science. Scientifically, ritually sacrifice the mermaid to give him immortality. And it's up to the titular king's daughter in order to save the mermaid. And in doing so, she also has a love triangle between another member of the court and a sea captain, the sea captain who captured the mermaid, who she has no chemistry with whatsoever. She also has a black sidekick who does nothing in the movie. That guy there, he's the captain of a ship. And he is basically only there to fall in love with the king's daughter. He serves no real other purpose. I get the feeling that the book is way better than this, because this movie is so bare bones by the numbers. And I have to imagine that for somebody as beloved as a writer, and who, for a book that has won awards for it when it was first published, I can't imagine that it's this bad. I think it's just the fact that the filmmakers literally had no idea what the hell to do with this story. And it's genuinely baffling that this even exists. It doesn't make me want to go out and read the book. I don't want to read the book because it ties into the movie. I want to read the book in spite of this movie. This movie makes me want to read a book in spite of it. And I can't, and I would love to see Dominic Noble tear this movie apart in his Lost in Adaptation series, because, God, I can only imagine just how much was just gutted. This may be a case of adaptation in name only from the book. So I have to go and check that book out. It's called The Sun and the Moon by Vonda McIntyre. So if you want to go check that out, no, The Moon and the Sun. I got it backwards. The Moon and the Sun, since Louis XIV was the Sun King. It's supposed to be more of a Jane Austen style Victorian England set piece. The whole thing is supposed to be a French noble 17th century setting. And there's this weird rivalry between William Hurt as the Catholic priest and the doctor who's telling Pierce Brosnan he can make him live forever through science. And it is the weirdest shit. I can't imagine the book is anything like that. It's the weirdest thing. And this is also the director of such notable hits as Soul Surfer, the Christian shark attack survivor movie that was based on a real story, and The Miracle Season, based on a true story of a high school volleyball team. And also, most recently, before this, Cats and Dogs 3. The direct-to-video second sequel to 1999's or 2001's, I forget which, Cats and Dogs. Which already had a terrible sequel called Kitty Galore. 2001. So 9 years after the first movie, they had a sequel that was direct-to-video, I think, or maybe got a limited theatrical release. And then Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite, was released 2 years ago in 2020, direct-to-video. Okay, yeah, the second movie was released in theaters. This one was released direct-to-video, and it's about the cats and dogs have to work together, even though that's literally what they did in the last movie. So yeah, that director was given to was given the reins to adapt a movie by an award-winning science fiction period piece story about mermaids, and this is what he gave us: this Stardust wannabe bullshit. If you want to see something like this done well, watch Matthew Vaughn's Stardust adaptation, the thing he did with Neil Gaiman's book. That's a genuinely good period fantasy piece. This is just a slog and a mess. There is no joy to be found here. Abandon joy, all ye who enter here, and this movie has none. So let's move on to the final movie that I watched, and one that won't be on my best of the year list for 2022 because it was actually released at the tail end of 2021. And that is Belle. I saw this movie because it was playing locally, and a lot of the VTubers I follow all were raving about how good this movie is. The premise here is you've got a high school girl in Japan who is very mousy, very nerdy, very quiet, who gets the opportunity to join in essentially Second Life or the metaverse if it wasn't done by Facebook, and uses it to become this pink-haired singer, since she was a singer in her own life, but lost the kind of joy and passion to sing after her mother passed away. There's what she looks like in the real world, and there's a difference in animation style, as the real world segments are animated with hand-drawn animation, 2D animation, while the virtual world segments are all done in the CGI 3D anime style. And it works. It's a nice, you can tell the difference between the two styles, and they work well together. And so what happens is she becomes an idol in this virtual world, and her friend is forcing her to essentially be like an idol VTuber as Belle, because people love her singing voice. And then, during one of her concerts, that beast, this is a Beauty and the Beast story if you couldn't figure it out, that monster crashes the concert and gets attacked by what is essentially the virtual world's police force, which are basically a Super Sentai team. The police force in the virtual world in this movie are a Super Sentai team. I love it. But Belle becomes fascinated. Everybody becomes fascinated by this beast because they don't know where he came from. They don't know who is behind the avatar. They don't know what's going on or how he became so powerful, how he's able to hide. And Belle is able to find his secret hideaway and befriends the beast in the hopes of learning who is behind this, because she's concerned because she believes he is good even though everyone thinks he's a monster. And so over the course of the movie, you get the Beauty and the Beast storyline in the virtual world, while in the real world, the main girl, whose name I have completely forgotten, let me pull up the names. Suzu Naito is the titular girl here. She's is the main character here, the one who plays Belle. Suzu believes that she's concerned about the well-being of whoever is behind. Oh, are they releasing that direct to HBO Max as well? I thought they were just doing it in theaters. I have to keep an eye out for that. But she is concerned because she believes that the Beast is not a monster and that he is just somebody in pain acting out. And because he's protective of her, he shows kindness through his gruff exterior, and she believes, and she wants to help him in that regard. And so, over the course of this, the real world segments become a sort of mystery over Suzu and her friend. What is it? Hiroka? I think her friend Hiroka, Hiroka or Ruka, I forget which. But her friend, who's this sort of glasses nerdy girl who's all cocky and good with tech and has a giant computer set up. Her friend, who's basically her idol manager, also decides to help find out who this Beast is, mainly because the friend is curious. And that's the friend there with the glasses. And they have these sort of AirPod-style connectors to the virtual world where they become their avatars in the real world. And so, Suzu/Belle work to find out who the Beast is. And there are all kinds of suspects about who the Beast may be. There's like a baseball player with a dark past who never shows his chest, and the Beast has all of these scars because they take aspects of your personal life and your personality and project it onto your avatar. And so they know that the Beast has some kind of scarring or something like that. They think it might be some woman who's doing it for attention. They think it might be some tortured artist who is co-opting a lot of the scar aesthetic for his artwork. And so there's a mystery behind who is behind the Beast in the real world, and that's the real world plot. So you've got the Beauty and the Beast plot in the virtual world, while in the real world, there's a mystery plot over who is behind the Beast, and Suzu becomes invested in helping whoever's behind the Beast. And it's a beautiful story in that regard, because it deals, and I see why so many VTubers identified with this movie, because you have a story about a girl who is very very self-deprecating, very self-conscious in the real world, who utilizes an avatar in the virtual world in order to project a quote-unquote better version of herself, a more ideal version of herself. And then it also tackles a lot of the stress that living that sort of double life gives you. And there's a lot of weight put behind revealing who you are in the real world within the virtual world. There's a lot of, they address the fact that doxing is a serious issue, and that people shouldn't, it's a big deal when people's personal information about their real world counterpart to their avatar gets revealed. And I will say, I genuinely think, because this came out, I saw this around the same time as another movie trying to replicate living in the internet. Not The Matrix. It wasn't The Matrix. It was something else. I forget what. Not anything I saw for the show. What was it? I don't remember. I think I wrote it down in Letterboxd. I have a Letterboxd that's from my old persona. I should probably update it again and change the username and whatnot. Let me see. Let me see my review for Belle. Ready Player One, that's what I was thinking of. Basically, the Oasis from Ready Player One. The virtual world in Belle is that, but written by people who actually understand the internet and who actually understand internet communication and social media, and by people who understand the issues that are therein. You know, you get a lot of fans, but you also get a lot of people who just are negative towards you for no reason sometimes. And I did make the joke that this is essentially the Idol and the Troll instead of the Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, it is a genuinely beautiful movie, and it's a touching story. Touching, especially between Suzu as Belle and Suzu... Oh yeah, I know about Ready Player 2, and it's even worse. I don't even think Steven Spielberg could salvage that monstrosity from what I've heard about the book. He'd have to completely just do an entirely separate story from the book. But, yeah, this does manage to capture a lot of experiences that VTubers and idols have in the sort of idol culture that comes with it, and the issues that they face in taking part in it. I see why so many VTubers identified with this movie. And on top of that, I think it's a beautiful adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. It modernizes it in a way that is perfect for the time, and I think it's a really touching thing that the romance is all in the virtual world. There is no romance in the real world between Suzu and who they eventually reveal to be the Beast. It is all platonic in the real world. There's no real romance there. It's more about Suzu coming into her own as a person and gaining the confidence to sing again. And that's the main thing. And then Suzu also, because there's a major character beat that they reveal her mom died saving somebody else's child. And meanwhile, the adults are all... There's a big thing in anime that I see, especially like anime geared towards younger characters and younger audience members, where they... Even Ghibli kind of addresses this. There is a tendency in older Japan, like basically baby boomer and Gen X Japan, to be very judgmental, very like, oh, do you believe that? There's a lot of judginess from the adults in Japan, and at least in terms of the anime. And I'm guessing they're carrying that over from real life. There's this judginess that you get from adults, but there's no real, there's judginess, but there's no real constructive criticism. They judge you for your decisions and for your actions, but they never care about making you better, giving, if you were more ideal for, even if you did what they wanted you to do, they would find something to nitpick about you. There's this sort of inner, like, self-consciousness about themselves, where they project out nitpicking and judginess towards others because they aren't confident enough in themselves. Or at least that's how it comes across in this movie. But yeah, so her mom tragically dies in the act of saving a child from a flooding river. And the whole movie, Suzu is trying to wrap her head around why her mom would give her life away so frivolously almost. Why would her mom give up? So a lot of that sort of judginess you see in Japanese media comes from the older generations kind of judging the younger ones for their decisions. And so for this movie, Suzu's big arc is coming to terms with the loss of her mother, both in why she was willing to die to save somebody else, and why, the fact that she's gone and never coming back. And her mom was the one who taught her to sing. Her mom was the reason she sang. So she was never confident enough to sing after her mom passed. And she's even taking part in the choir that her mom was a part of when she was alive. It's not like basically a group of of older women, and she's like the daughter of somebody who was also a member, and so they've like, hey, why don't you come sing with us? And she doesn't really sing at all, and it's not until she gains the self-confidence to sing as herself that she begin that, and I feel like those women could have been more involved. They kind of just show up towards the end and try to help out, but they're never really that involved in like the virtual world aspect of it, because they're also on the virtual world. Everybody's on this metaverse Oasis style virtual world here, but it's just mainly a representation of the internet as a physical place. And I think it's a better representation of the internet that you see as the Oasis and Ready Player One, or even the metaverse is trying to be. But yeah, Belle is a beautiful movie. It's probably going to come out on video sometime soon, depending on who gets the rights to it. Who got the rights to it? It's been nominated for all kinds of awards, both, like, it's got a whole bunch of Annie nominations, the animation awards, the Annies, and it's got like 5 nominations just for the Annies, but it's got nominations all across various local film critic circles, as well as Crunchyroll's anime awards and the Japan Academy Film Prize it's been nominated for. So it's been getting a lot of accolades, but I have not heard who is going to get the rights to like stream it or release it on video or whatnot. It's G Kids, so it could be HBO Max. I think that's who they're affiliated with in the US. I forget who G Kids is paired with in the US for distribution. But in any case, Belle is well worth your watching, and I highly recommend you take the chance to see it when you get it. But those are all the movies I saw, and the other thing I picked up from the polls I did on Twitter was people did want to do more movie discussion, but I think I want to hold off on the discussion portions until I get more people in the chat to talk with and more people in the audience who can, provide insight and provide opinions. I would like the end segment, if we are going to have a discussion about like the industry or about films in general, I would like more people to be in on the discussion. So I think for right now, I'll just take this moment to do a couple of things. We're going to take a look at the box office for the weekend, because I used to do that all the time on my podcast. And then I'm going to look at the release schedule for this upcoming weekend. So looking at the last weekend, the top in the top 10, at the bottom of the top 10, you've got Licorice Pizza, which was a carryover from 2021. The 355, which was the first new release of the year, that's still there. American Underdog, which was a carryover from 2021, is still in the top 10. Then you've got Redeeming Love, which was a 2022 release that I need to see at some point. It's a period piece, gold rush, like Christian love drama or something. My nephew saw it with a friend and absolutely hated it. So I can't wait to bring it up and tear it apart. Number 6, you've got The King's Man, another carryover from 2021. That's still in there. I highly recommend The King's Man as well. It's a very good entry in the franchise. Sing 2 is still hanging around. Sing 2 is still in the top 10. It's actually in the top 5. It's the number 5. Scream is still bringing in money. That's still bringing the new Scream movie, which I enjoyed. Spider-Man No Way Home, still bringing in money. Still bringing in that. Oh my God. Moonfall was only just barely able to eke out, Moonfall could have lost to Spider-Man this weekend. If a few more thousand people went to go rewatch Spider-Man, Moonfall could have been number 3 this weekend. By a hair. It is by a hair, $300,000, which is a lot, but when you think about like domestic gross between US and Canada, it's not, you think about that and it's not all that much if you consider like each ticket costs like $10. So you think each ticket costs $10 to go see, and that's not counting like 3D screenings, IMAX screenings, things like that. That would mean only 30,000 people would need to see Spider-Man in order for it to top Moonfall. And that just means 30,000 more people went to go see Moonfall in the US and Canada than went to go rewatch Spider-Man. But the fact that that many people would still rather just go and watch Spider-Man again than the new Roland Emmerich movie says a lot. And like I mentioned at the top, Jackass Forever is the king of the weekend with $23 million brought home on a $10 million budget. Paramount played their cards right. They knew they wanted people to come out and see this movie in theaters because that's where their money would be, and they got their money back. They got their money back and more. They got double their money back, and after this weekend, it's all profit. And that's not even including the foreign box office. So, yeah, they came out big this weekend. As for next weekend, what do we got coming up? Release calendar. Next weekend, our big 2 releases, and I'll probably get posters for this next week when I do this segment. Next week, we've got our 2 big releases are the sequel to the 2018 adaptation, 2017. But basically, Kenneth Branagh has moved from doing Shakespeare to doing Agatha Christie. He is now deep into the Hercule Poirot series. And 2017 was Murder on the Orient Express, and after some delays due to COVID, Death on the Nile is coming to theaters. Featuring another star-studded cast, Kenneth Branagh returning as Poirot. You've got Annette Bening, Tom Bateman, Russell Brand. Why is top cast not like the ones on the poster? That's so bizarre. But you've got this must not be top cast. It must be cast in order of appearance. But you've got Armie Hammer, who, the dude who is under a scrutiny for possible cannibalism. Gal Gadot of Wonder Woman fame and literally nothing else. The anti-vaxxer herself, Letitia Wright, shows up as a character, I believe. Where is she? Where is she in the cast? I know she's here. Yeah, Letitia Wright. Here, let me look at the poster. The poster should have, like, the big... or here, let me go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia usually has the, like, big person celebrity casting on it. You've got Tom Bateman, Annette Bening, Russell Brand, Dawn French, who is probably best known from French and Saunders. In the UK, she was a comedy partners with Jennifer Saunders of Absolutely Fabulous, and she's been a long-standing British actress. She was also in Absolutely Fabulous in an episode, which is because she's friends with she's friends with Jennifer Saunders. But she was in the 2000 Watership Down series for the BBC or for British TV. She was in Miss Marple for another Agatha Christie adaptation. A bunch of British stuff that I've never heard of. RuPaul's Drag Race UK. What about film? She was in the Absolutely Fabulous movie. She was in Coraline as Miriam Forcible. I forget which character that was. She was Mrs. Beaver in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah, Avatar 2 is supposedly coming out. Oh, she was I think she's the opera singer Fat Lady in Prisoner of Azkaban. So she's been mainly a TV and stage actress in Britain. But yeah, she's in this movie. Sophia Okonedo? I don't remember. Apparently she was all the way back in Ace Ventura 2 as a role. Wait, who was she in Ace Ventura 2? Was she the princess? She was the Wachati princess in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls. I'll be damned. But she has since gone on to Dirty Pretty Things, Hotel Rwanda, Secret Life of Bees, the terrible Aeon Flux movie. We won't talk about that. After Earth. We won't talk about that. She was the voice of Kanga in the Christopher Robin movie with Ewan McGregor. She was in the new Hellboy reboot. People don't want to talk about that, but I actually kind of enjoy it. Anyway, that's Sophie Okonedo, and she is in this movie as well. Jennifer Saunders is also in this movie, apparently. So you've got two members of Absolutely Fabulous in this movie. Wait, who was the third one? Who is the other part of Absolutely Fabulous? There's Jennifer Saunders and... Joanna Lumley was the other member of Absolutely Fabulous. So yeah, you've got, Dawn and French, classic British comedy nerds will know that. They're in this movie. French and Saunders, and Russell Brand, oddly enough, Annette Bening. Annette Bening is not bad, but yeah, Kenneth Branagh is continuing his dive into the Hercule Poirot series. The premise this time is that Poirot is on a ship going down the Nile, and somebody gets murdered, and he is out to find the killer. And so it's gone from murder on the train to murder on the boat. Agatha Christie was very big on following speed logic, apparently, but this was before they had buses. Like, big enough for people that go long distance. In any case, yeah, this has been kind of delayed by COVID. And I'm guessing if this does well enough, then Kenneth Branagh is kind of hoping to continue adapting Agatha Christie novels. So we may have like a Miss Marple movie, and we may have other Agatha Christie mysteries, which, you know what? I'm okay. If they're going to have like a Agatha Christie cinematic universe, at least the source material will be good. The other movie coming out this weekend is Marry Me from Universal. I thought it was just coming to Peacock. That's where I saw it advertised. But it may be coming, but it looks like it's coming to theaters? Okay, now I have to... But anyway, the premise for that one is Jennifer Lopez is a fictional pop star who is about to get married to her pop star boyfriend, fiancé, until the night of the wedding, and she finds out. Okay, yeah, Peacock is doing the HBO Max model of simul release with coming out in theaters and going direct to Peacock Plus. But in any case, it's based on a webcomic called Marry Me, which I am not familiar with, by Bobby Crosby. This is probably one of the first movies based on a webcomic. I want to take a look at this art. Okay, it's not bad. It looks like... It definitely is webcomic very webcomic-y style art, digital art. But so they're taking the premise from the webcomic and kind of they're definitely dialing it back, because the one character has freaking Goku hair. But in any case, I think they're just taking the premise and just doing their own thing with it, because it doesn't look anything like the webcomic. But yeah, Marry Me with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. Basically, the superstar Jennifer Lopez's character is humiliated after she learns that her about-to-be husband was cheating with her assistant the whole time. And so the night of her wedding, her big celebrity wedding where she gets married on stage at the concert, she just like out of, what's the term for it? I don't know. I don't know much about the production of this movie. I don't know who got the rights. I don't know if I don't know much about Bobby Crosby or like who he sold the rights to. Like if he was involved at all. I'm not sure. Apparently this was also supposed to come out last year, but was delayed due to COVID. So this is another delayed release due to COVID. But there isn't much. They don't say much about the production of this film in regards to adapting a webcomic, or how much of the webcomic is being adapted. But in any case, the whole premise is that J-Lo decides to marry Owen Wilson's character because he was holding a sign that said "Marry Me" at her concert because her big song was "Marry Me," and she decides, fuck it, sure. And then the plot then revolves and turns it's a rom-com. So you've got the rom-com elements of, Owen Wilson as the schlubby, everyday guy in the trying to live as the boyfriend and now husband of this famous pop star. He doesn't fit in. He feels like he's not good enough for her, and she's not quite sure what to do because she doesn't want to divorce him because, then everyone will think she did it because she's crazy and she's unhit, mentally unstable or something like that. And so that's the other thing too, is they have this little girl. If I can find her, she doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but I've seen her before. She's the kid from the Dave Bautista action comedy, My Spy, I think. Chloe Coleman is her name. I'm pretty sure. Yep, she was the little girl in My Spy from a couple of years ago. She's also been in Big Little Lies as a recurring character. And she is Owen Wilson's daughter, who is the reason he's going to the concert in the first place. So, I saw her and I was like, oh hey, it's My Spy Kid. That's great. The guy who was the conspiracy nut in Moonfall is in this movie as, I think, Jennifer Lopez's manager. So he might get his other movie might actually make more money than Moonfall. The rom-com he did with J-Lo and Owen Wilson might actually make more money than the Roland Emmerich movie. Welcome to 2022, everybody. But Latin pop star Maluma. I want to say Maluma. He's from Medellin, Colombia. Yeah, he's a reggaeton and Latin trap singer. He plays the J-Lo's character's first husband, the guy she was supposed to get married to, and like her big fling, the big sort of like, will she get back together with this guy, like because he does this whole apology thing, so she's gonna go back to him, or she's gonna stick with Owen Wilson. It's what kind of, that's the main thrust of the rom-com drama, melodrama, more to speak. But I'm interested, at least. Who's making this movie? Kat Coiro. Coiro? Kat Coiro, I want to say. Who is also in charge of She-Hulk. But her other two things are Girls 5 Eva and Dead to Me. So this will... But okay, she directed It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Shameless episodes. I'll give it this. If she had worked on It's Always Sunny, even if those episodes were bad, it means she's good at directing comedy in some way, because that's a killer show. And unless those episodes were like the worst in the series, then I would be worried. But she's Girls 5 Eva, one-hit wonder band from the 90s, gets a second shot at fame when a young rapper samples their song. Made, it looks like, where was this, who was this made for? What network? TVMA. Peacock. So I'll have to check this out as well. Not a writer. I don't know her writing, but her directing. She's good at Oh, Sarah Bareilles? Busy Phillips. Okay, then I'm gonna have to check this show out. It's on Peacock. It's called Girls 5 Eva. And I'll say this much: if they were trying to tap into the 90s hip-hop stolen language, they definitely nailed that. As a writer, she directed an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's directed an episode of The Mick. A lot of TV work. A lot of TV work, mostly. This has been her first movie that hasn't been for TV since 2013, where she made a movie called A Case of You, which is an independent comedy starring Justin Long and Evan Rachel Wood. No idea how good that is. Writing credits. She has written shorts and some screenplays. Never heard of any of them. So she's mainly a director. But hey, she's got some good stuff under her belt. I mean, she's working on Shameless, It's Always Sunny, Modern Family, something called Dead to Me. That's the other one, Dead to Me. Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini over on Netflix. I think I've heard about that one. It looked good. So yeah, she seems to be fairly solid in the comedy television world, at least. So She-Hulk is in good hands, I feel like. Especially depending on how good this movie is. The screenplay is by Harper Dill, who has worked on The Mick and The Mindy Project, as well as something called Florida Girls, which is something that Kate Coiro also worked on. Never heard of this one, Florida Girls. It's basically 4 girls living in, I think, 90s? In a small town in Florida. And it looks like the 90s. That color scheme screams 90s. And this was for Jack's Media and Lionsgate. But where was the wait, is this was a series. Who was the hey IMDb, who was the channel? Who was the channel? Where did this air? What channel did this air on? Thanks for nothing, IMDb. You gave me nothing. Now I have to go dig it up somewhere else. Anyway, Marry Me was written by Harper Dill and John Rogers. John Rogers, who has credits such as Catwoman 2004, The Core, and Michael Bay's first Transformers movie. Not great, but he's also written for Young Justice, Jackie Chan Adventures, Leverage, The Player, The Librarians. So mainly TV stuff since Transformers. I will not hold Catwoman and Transformers against this man because those were probably written by committee anyways. But he was the creator of Leverage, which is at least a decent show. So John Rogers, the creator of Leverage, and Harper Dill, who has been working in comedy TV. So a couple of comedy TV alums and, you know, a couple of ladies who cut their teeth on a comedy TV are making a movie based on a webcomic. This could go any number of ways. We shall see. But that's it for this week. So I think we'll call it there. I need to get some sleep. It's midnight now, and I did not get any sleep last night. So that's what I'm going to do now. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, but I gotta tune